Thank you for tuning on to Pierce Politics. We're here with some very special guests here today. We have to my left Craig Telfer, a junior here at Franklin Pierce, and many talents: dancer, uh, track and field athlete, and singer. Sings the national anthem, which we'll be singing at the end of the show. So, you guys stick around. And our other panel over here, we have Alex Powell, a senior here at Franklin Pierce, and former Politics Fitzhugh director. Welcome to the show, Alex. And of course, we have Ronald Cooper III on the left of Alex, and former candidate for office and soon to be office candidate again, right, Ron?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So make sure you guys go vote for him out in Rockingham, 3rd District in New Hampshire. So let's get into it, guys. Obviously, we're here with Craig. First time on the show, so we're gonna get to the run around with him and see what his political 18 months was like. So Craig, tell us, what was it like being a New Hampshire resident going through this election? Just seeing what was going on.
Um, Honestly, like the last 18 months has been like all about the politics, all about who's running for president and who America would like to elect. And honestly, it it was interesting because I wasn't very politically connected with politics. Like I don't really do politics until these past 18 months. I felt like I've gotten involved more, I guess you can say, and I've actually watched debates and stuff like that. So it's been a roller coaster, I guess.
And
But a
obviously,
good experience.
I'm glad to hear that, Craig. And obviously, a lot of people, millennials, have said that this has been upsetting for them that this election's happened. So,
Hmm.
but obviously, one of the big things is always getting the young people's vote. And usually that's the main thing that candidates work on, and in debates and town hall meetings, especially in New Hampshire and a lot of the small town politics states. But Craig, obviously, some of you may not know, Craig is not able to vote in
Yeah,
the United States.
yeah.
Well, why is that, Craig?
Unfortunately, yeah, I can't really vote in the United States because I'm Canadian. I'm a Canadian citizen. Um, so that restricts me from voting. Like my vote wouldn't count either way, even if I did vote. However, if I did choose to cast my vote, I would probably make the wise choice of voting for Hillary, obviously.
Yeah, and that's it's kind of interesting to me that here everyone's out there trying to push college students or people to vote for their candidate and
Hmm.
things like that. But then they get into dilemmas where people aren't even able to vote like you.
Yeah,
So that's kind of do you ever
unfortunate.
did you ever kind of just feel uncomfortable when people were like, oh, who are you gonna vote for? Who are you gonna vote for? Or we just like, oh, I'm Canadian.
Honestly, that's funny because I do feel some type of way because I always have to explain myself to
Yeah.
people why I can't vote. But yeah, I felt kind of isolated, left out
Yeah.
because
That.
my vote opinion wouldn't really matter
Yeah.
in that case. But
But no, that's really great that you're still out there, talking about politics and learning, and that's really great.
hmm
What about some of the recent things that happened, Craig? Obviously there's been a lot of things in the news, and we'll get to our other panel in a second. What are some things that you noticed that were kind of weird to you or great for you? I mean, I guess.
um, some things that have previously struck me from the news is are the current president of the United States, his actions. I don't really know the backstory behind it, but preventing people from coming to the country just because of what it seems like their race. It's this it's not good. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
And obviously, we don't have too many problems with Canada. And the borders aren't too strict.
Yeah.
But as an immigrant, how do you kind of feel about you're not someone who isn't a United States citizen. How do you feel about that? Certain people aren't allowed to come to this country for even in their country because they're from a certain country. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
yeah, kind of,
striking because
yeah,
they're doing it. I don't know the sole reason or purpose for doing it because I didn't catch up on it to the full potential. But
yeah,
from the glimpse of it, I just don't like where it's headed.
yeah. And we're gonna get to our other panel now. Alex, what do you kind of think about the Muslim ban so far? or the
Well,
Muslim ban, I'm sorry, the ban against countries that are most likely to cause terrorism in the United States, according to the executive action.
Well, it's been really interesting to watch this week as kind of the stories have developed around it. Obviously, last week you had the outrage, the protests, people filling up airports, and then you got to see the image of families being broken apart and then finally reunited. So it's kind of been a whirlwind week for this ban. And then you have the federal judge from Seattle actually striking down the ban. So I think the hearing is set for, it was last night. I'm not sure on, am I right on that? Yeah, I don't know what the outcome of it was, but hopefully it's still stopped. I don't agree with it personally. And there's been so much political backlash going on between, the Republicans, the Democrats, and President Trump, obviously, who's kind of a wild card throughout this whole thing, that it's just been really interesting to watch. But it's kind of dominated the whole news cycle, and I want to see some other stuff start to be talked about and noticed by the public.
And what about you, Ron? Obviously, it's pretty, I guess, frightening that Donald Trump. Here we are. Yesterday, hate to say, Craig, there was tax by people from Canada in our country, and Kellyanne Conway, one of the counselors to the president, maybe the main one, said on I believe she was talking to Chuck Todd on MSNBC that we're worried about those countries. We're worried about these countries on this list, and there hasn't been any attacks from those countries since 9/11 on United States soil. So
even in 9/11, those are Saudi Arabian countries, and Saudi Arabia's left off that list.
Yeah. So it gets to weigh in, Ron. What do you see from that? What do you think?
Well, first off, I think Kellyanne Conway is a little bit alternative in choice of advisor. I think her use of alternative facts is not only damaging but also demoralizing to the credibility that is the White House. And with the whole Muslim ban, I think that it's interesting that they're trying to play off of what President Obama did during his tenure as their own sort of idea. They took the ideas from the Muslim ban from President Obama. Obviously, they took the same countries on that list from President Obama and used it in their own. I think the whole Trump administration supporting it is uncouth and unfathomable.
Yeah, kind of interesting that I always made the analogy that now that we got a different president in of a different race, that things can change, and whatever happened before was not okay, but now it's okay. I mean, even if you look at some of the other things he's done, beside the point. Another major issue that's come up is education. How do we educate our young children? I mean, obviously you look back, and I hate to say that government has always played a huge role in education. Whether you look at Brown v. Board of Education, or you look at recently George W. Bush, a conservative, who said famously, "Are our children learning?" And obviously some of the different things, no Child Left Behind Act. Obviously, Craig, education is a huge deal in the world. What do you think about Donald Trump choosing someone who was never educated in a public school as the leader and the person in charge of everyone's public school education? I mean, and even private school when it comes to student loans and other things. What do you think about that?
What I think about that is that I think it's unprofessional, and I think it's selfish because you need to care about other people other than yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order to do that, you have to put it in your best interest and mean it.
And so who do these kind of blame? The person taking the job and saying that she wants to be the
person.
So Donald Trump
appointing the person for the job.
And another interesting, New Hampshire, all of our senators and senators voted obviously no against the nomination because they're all Democrats and all Democrats voted against it. But what do you think about some people, even Republicans, supporting such a kind of nonsense candidate and nonsense appointee to the office?
I also think that they're being unprofessional and doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, kind of, it's like, just because it's your friend or just because that's your team,
Yeah.
doesn't mean you got to support everything.
Exactly. You should have your own opinion.
Right, especially when it comes to public education, I guess. We have to see if our children are learning.
Exactly.
But Alex, obviously, someone grew up in the public schools in Massachusetts and, kind of got that realm. What do you have to say about the whole idea of Betsy DeVoe
Well,
charge?
for starters, I love my public school education. Massachusetts is ranked #1 in the nation in public school education. And recently this summer, I worked on a ballot question 2 in Massachusetts that fought to keep public funding for public schools. Now, Betsy DeVoe is the opposite of my belief in public schools and that public schools should be receiving more money, not less. I don't mind charter schools. I just don't necessarily think that we should be using them instead of public education.
Right.
Experimental education programs, like I'm sure Betsy will be investing in, they work to a T, but they can also be a business model. So, they can take a school and make it for profit, then you're not helping out the children. And that's one thing with Betsy DeVoe that I'm not sure she has in mind. I think she's about money because she's a businesswoman. I don't know if she's about the children or she cares about, America's ranking worldwide as, being great at education. In addition to that, I don't like, as Craig mentioned, how it broke pretty much in party line with just 2 Republicans voting against Betsy DeVoe. I would have liked to see some more challenging. There was a lot of strong evidence brought out against her for her ability to operate and manage, something as big as the education department. And just to see 2 people and it coming down to a tie with Vice President Mike Pence being, the overthrow.
First
and
time
now
ever of Vice President having to sway the nomination.
But now we're also headed towards this kind of partisan politic play that's been at hand for the past, since I can remember at least, that you have, all these nominees look like they're going to get appointed. They're not getting scrutinized. Trump said go, and the Senate said yes. That's not the American way. They should be challenged, and we should be finding the best people for these jobs, regardless of party lines.
And what about you, Ron? I mean, obviously, the Democrats struggled for, a long time to try to even get a Barack Obama late-term Supreme Court nominee passed to take the spot of Scalia. And, now you're seeing the Republicans kind of just, playing the same old game of keeping their heels in the ground. Do you think this is going to be something to come, Ron? Do you think this is going to be the same thing for every nomination made by Donald Trump? It's going to be yes, 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 men. I mean, or do you think they're going to finally say enough's enough, Donald Trump, enough's enough, President Trump and Vice President Pence, and we're going to stand up for our own people up on stage and do the right thing?
I truly think, Alex, that it all starts at Chuck Schumer and that his uniting the Democratic Party is with the rallying call of, we need to fight Trump, we need to resist Trump. I think that's going to be a large player in the next coming years, especially with the Senate, seeing how things work. If the Democratic ploy works, then maybe we'll see a change in control to the Democratic Party over the Republicans in the midterm election. Who knows?
Yeah, and obviously someone ran as a Democrat in New Hampshire, and obviously one of the big things for the Democratic Party is going to be who replaces Deborah Wasserman Schultz as the DNC chair. What do you think about who do you think should be in charge of this new movement or new uniting in the party as the DNC chair?
Well, honestly, I think in such a turbulent time, there's only one person who really sticks out in my mind, and it's Ray Buckley, chairman of the NHDP, not only because he worked with me and helped me to develop into the candidate that I was and to the candidate that I will hopefully one day be, but he also did that for a number of other candidates. He knocked out a freshman senator but then outgoing governor. He did an exemplary job as the New Hampshire Democratic Party chairman. And he also serves as the vice chair for the Democratic National Committee. So So I mean, he already sort of has been in that position and has the ability to lead in the necessary way.
I heard a comment from a Republican say that he has no shot of becoming the chair, that they kind of did what they did to Bernie Sanders and kind of knocked him out right away. Thoughts on that?
I honestly think that that wouldn't be too surprising. The Democratic Party still is in its old ways. It's still sort of picking certain candidates over the other. It's still basically a big game, you know. It's popularity contest.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna comment on that,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree wholeheartedly with Raymond Buckley for, the chair of the DNC. I think he's done a great job in New Hampshire, and I'll never knock him for that. But I think he is in line with the old guard Democrats. He was obviously a superdelegate and came out immediately for supporting Hillary Clinton. I'd like to see someone that is more of a sideline player, that's really going to get into it and start looking at all the options before they make a decision. Someone younger that can connect to the youth more and will bring technology and data operations into the party. So someone maybe from a tech field, maybe someone that's working with local government, like a mayor or a governor, someone that's in politics right now but that would be willing to remove. So I'm kind of looking for more of a criteria, I guess, than, backing a horse yet necessarily. But there's a lot of good options out there, including, I think, Tom Perez, Obama's former, I think he was the Secretary of Labor, I'm not sure.
I believe something like that.
Something like that. But I think someone that's been in the Obama administration that knows something about the Obama coalition and how maybe they can advance that, as well as Rep. Ellison, who said he would resign from his position in Congress if he were to be elected. I think someone like that would do well for the party, who's also, he's the first Muslim to be elected to Congress, and I think that's kind of groundbreaking. And if that's where the Democratic Party wants to be heading, and I think they do, they want the diverse vote, they want the youth vote. So you have to pick someone that can, really, really show those characteristics. And that might help them out in the future.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. Real quick before we go commercial, who is going to be the nominee for 2020? Alex and Ron and Craig.
If you asked me today, I'd say Elizabeth Warren, just after what she pulled yesterday and the reaction that came.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, honestly, after last night, I think in 2020 it's going to be a Warren takes on Trump toe-to-toe for the White House.
Craig?
I have to say I agree with them.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
We'll see. After the break, we're actually going to discuss Elizabeth Warren a little bit about yesterday's kind of rather unusual being told to sit down, stop talking, take your seat, and which is unusual. So we're going to take a look at that and much more after the break. Welcome back to the show. Obviously, before break, we were talking about who would be the nominee in 2020 for the Democratic Party. So, yesterday, something really interesting happened. Alex, you wanna share your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it. So last night in the Senate, while the Democrats were holding the floor, and my senator from Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, was making a lengthy speech. She was holding the floor just to kind of filibuster, keep the Republican senators up all night. It's a common use tactic when you can't deny them a vote because you're not going to have the numbers, so you tire them out and make as much of a disturbance as possible. Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren, in her attack on Senator Jeff Sessions, who's up for the nomination of Attorney General, she used quotes and started reading from past letters from Coretta King and the late Senator of also Massachusetts, Edward Kennedy. Now, in those remarks, there were some scathing critiques of Jeff Sessions' characters, and they accused him of racism. They accused him of other things, like not being able to run the Justice Department because he wasn't smart enough to, and he wasn't qualified to. And Elizabeth Warren was warned then by Senate Majority Leader of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, that her language was unacceptable for the Senate chambers, and that if she continued, that she would be, punished for it. She persisted anyways, as she usually tends to do. She's a fighter. And it forced Senator Mitch McConnell to get up and invoke Rule 19. Rule 19 is a little-known rule that was created in 1902 when two senators actually got in a fist fight with each other because they used bad language at each other, and it ended up in an absolute brawl on the Senate floor. So a rule was put in place to make sure that senators' conduct was always in line. I'm not sure they had this particular instance in mind when they made this rule, so it was kind of ridiculous that it was used, and now Senator Warren is not allowed to talk for an extensive period of time on the Senate floor, which I view as kind of ridiculous. And it made her end her speech, which was continuing at length, and she might have continued all night. So it was just a very interesting thing.
My thought, though, is, Alex, is it really too necessary, though, for senators to get their message across on the Senate floor when, in reality, I mean, if you look on social media today, there's a lot of people who posted the entire length of the speeches and things like that, including our former professor, Pam Dorn. I saw on her Facebook, came to mind, that she posted the whole length of the thing. Do you think it's like kind of a more of a formal thing to speak on the chamber floor? Because, I mean, really, in reality, everyone is always hearing these messages on Twitter or everything like that. And Elizabeth Warren has Twitter. She could post these things on Twitter and get to the people, I guess.
Social media may be the effective tool for reaching the most, people, the biggest audience, and getting a stronger reaction. But you run your race to speak on the Senate floor. That's an American dream, I think, of many young politicians and many politicians to, speak and hold the Senate floor, because it's historic because of the precedent it sets. It's recorded into the Library of Congress for forever, and that's where the real meaning of the speech is. And while nowadays most senators, when they make an address, it's for the public, they want the public to hear it, you still make that address for your fellow senators inside the chambers. So I do think it's extremely important that a senator not be denied the right to speak on the Senate floor, especially for quoting Coretta King, who's an American hero.
Yeah, not swearing, not saying anything, not calling people bad words. Ron, I'm curious about your thoughts. Obviously, Elizabeth Warren, big Democrat. You mentioned her as probably the DNC nominee in 2020. Do you think that was a really good move, for Mitch McConnell to invoke such a nonsense rule? I mean, in a lot of people's minds.
I think last night showed that a lot of Republicans consider her vis-a-vis a proverbial punching bag, and a lot of tension's going to be leashed out towards a lot of Democrats, more towards her and Bernie Sanders' wing. So I think she's going to see a lot of flack from the Republicans. But I think that's going to play off in her favor in the long run, because she's a tough senator, a great advocate for the people that she represents. I mean, Alex himself is one of those people, and we've had great conversations about how Elizabeth Warren is doing great things for the state of Massachusetts.
And Greg, I guess you get to finish it up for the night. What do you think about someone telling someone on the Senate floor that they didn't like what they were hearing, so you can't speak anymore? I mean, kind of goes against freedom of speech, I guess,
Exactly. It not only goes against freedom of speech, but it also shows that what makes her any different from another male Senate that would want to go up and announce his word. And I feel like there's definitely some battle of the sexes going on, because if it was a man, they would allow him to express his word. Now it's a lady trying to express her word with a tone that they do not appreciate. They're going to take false of it, which is come on, could you be any plain in your arguments? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what I think.
That's definitely a good point. Any last words before we close it up, Craig? Any singing? I know that you're number one singer in the school. I hear you are absolutely terrific. I believe that all the people on the set, Pat Delaney, Haley Garner, Matt Scoville, and Alex and Ron and myself would love to hear a little bit of, and the viewers would love to hear a little bit of the national anthem. Maybe like, even like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Just the what?
Just the opening part.
Yeah.
Okay, I can try.
All right. Let's hear.
Okay. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
All right. Thank you very much, Craig. We'll give a round of applause. Absolutely great. If you ever want to see Craig sing the national anthem, go to any sporting events at Franklin Pierce, and he might be there. And where can we see you in the dance this weekend?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 7:30 p.m. both days, and on Sunday matinee at 2 p.m.
In the warehouse theater.
Yeah, the theater.
And in case anyone didn't know, Matt Scoville will also be there performing his routine of jump roping. Jump roping. And doing his thing. In case you didn't know, Matt Scoville is the #1 jump roper I've ever seen jump rope at a political event. So number one in my books. Guess we're out of time. Thank you for joining us, Craig. We hope to see you again soon.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ron and Alex. We'll see you next episode for sure. And also, Alex, where can we see us on and Ron on Sunday?
Yeah, tune in on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'm not sure where we'll be, but we'll be online. We got a little internet radio show that we're starting off, and it's going to be exciting because there's an open house that day, so we're hoping to get some people stopping by. We have a great list of people calling in, and that'll probably be live on our Facebook feed, Twitter feed, Periscope, as well as a link on campus web, so please tune in. Can't wait.
We'll see you on Sunday. From myself and everyone else on the show, thank you very much. And thank you for our wonderful crew, Pat Delaney, Haley Garner, and Matt Scoville. One more time. Round of applause for them. Matt, thank you so much. All right. See you next time.
Okay.
Craig, that was such good singing.
So bad. You guys were lying to me.